Have you ever wondered why two companies born in the same country using the same materials ended up building engines from two different universes? If they use similar fuel, why does a Toyota feel like a dependable tractor, while a Honda feels like a caged animal waiting for release? It comes down to DNA. Toyota was built by weavers who perfected Kaizen. Honda was built by a guy who crashed race cars for fun. To understand the engines, we have to understand the men behind it: Kiichiro Toyota and Soichiro Honda. Toyota started as a spinning loom company. Looms are about precision, repetition, and reliability. If a loom breaks, the factory stops. That utility-first mindset stayed with Toyota as they transitioned to cars. They don't care if an engine is exciting, they care if it can run for 30 years without a hiccup. This is the philosophy of judoka. Soichiro Honda, on the other hand, was a grease monkey with a love for speed. He wanted to squeeze every drop of horsepower out of everything. He was obsessed with pistons and rings. When he was young, he stayed up all night figuring out how to withstand the heat of racing. How does a racing spirit manifest in a piece of cast aluminum? It's not a secret ingredient, it's the geometry. Honda engines are typically over-square. Toyota often sticks to under-square designs, prioritizing low-end torque and reduced wear over high RPM glory. One is meant to breathe, the other to pull. Engines are basically big air pumps. How they breathe determines their personality. This brings us to the famous acronyms. vidIQ, which means Variable Valve Timing and Lift Electronic Control, is legendary. Before vidIQ, you had to choose. Do you want a car that idles smoothly at stoplights? A car that screams on the highway? You couldn't have both. And then we have VVTi. Honda's vidIQ, led by Ikuo Kajitani, used oil pressure to switch between cam profiles. It's like having two engines in one. At high RPM, a pin slides into place, forcing the engine to use a racing cam. It pushes all the way to 8,000 RPM. Toyota's VVTi is a completely different beast. Focuses on timing, not lift. It smoothly adjusts the tempo to keep everything perfect, like a conductor adjusting an orchestra. Toyota wants efficiency at every RPM, not just the high ones. That's why they feel linear and predictable. But how do they handle the physical stress of those explosions? It comes down to what they're made of, right? So let's talk about the physical blocks. Toyotas are over-engineered. If a part needs to be 2 millimeters thick, Toyota makes it 3 millimeters. Legends like the 2JZ used heavy iron blocks for decades. Iron is heavy but can handle massive pressure. You can throw 30 pounds of boost at a stock Supra engine and it won't shatter. Honda, weight-obsessed racers, moved to aluminum. They used FRM cylinder liners, weaving carbon fibers into aluminum walls for strength. This is seriously clever stuff to keep the weight down, right? But honestly, it makes those engines cost a fortune whenever they need a rebuild. This leads to a big question for the tuners out there. If Honda uses lighter materials, does that mean they are more fragile than bulletproof Toyotas? Not necessarily. While Toyota blocks can handle more raw boost because of their thickness, Honda engines are masterpieces of efficiency. A Honda K-Series engine can make 200 horsepower naturally aspirated, something Toyota struggled to do without a turbo for a long time. It's not about fragility. It's about a difference in stress management. Honda manages stress through precision. Toyota manages it through mass. Stick with me because the next one is something most people completely miss. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos like this. This difference in stress management leads directly into how each company thinks about the engine's lifespan. If you look at a Toyota Camry engine, it's not particularly impressive on paper. It makes enough power. But here's the secret. Toyota purposely detunes their engines. They design an engine capable of 250 horsepower, but only ask it to give 180, because the engine is never working at 100% of its capacity. The components don't wear out. It's like an Olympic athlete who spends their whole life just power walking. They're never going to get a sports injury. Honda, meanwhile, wants that athlete to sprint. They give you all the power the engine can safely handle, making the car feel alive. This is most evident in the Honda S2000, which held the record for the highest specific output of any naturally aspirated engine for years. It was screaming at 9,000 revolutions per minute, which is unheard of for a production car. But wait, if Honda is pushing their engines harder, why do they still last 300,000 miles? Shouldn't they be blowing up? It comes down to incredible tolerances in oil flow. Honda engines are designed with surgical precision. The oiling systems ensure that even at high RPM, every moving part is floating on a microscopic film of oil. They don't last because they are beefy. They last because they are perfectly balanced and cooled with extreme efficiency. Beyond the technical specs, there's a sensory difference that every driver notices the moment they turn the key. As we look toward the modern era, the rivalry has shifted from mechanical cams to electric motors. We must talk about hybrids. Toyota basically invented the modern hybrid with the Prius and the hybrid synergy drive. It uses a complex planetary gear set that blends gas and electric power so seamlessly you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. It is a masterpiece of mechanical integration. Toyota's system is parallel, meaning both engine and motor can drive the wheels. Honda tried to compete early on with integrated motor assist, basically a thin electric motor between the engine and transmission. It was simpler and felt more like a normal car because it kept a manual transmission. But it wasn't as efficient as the Prius. So did Honda just lose the hybrid war? Are their modern hybrids just worse versions of what Toyota offers? Not anymore. Honda's new IMMD, which means Intelligent Multimode Drive System, is actually a stroke of genius. In most driving conditions, the engine isn't even connected to the wheels. It acts as a generator to power an electric motor. It only clutches in at highway speeds using a single-speed direct drive. It prioritizes an electric-only feel. Honda basically built an EV that carries its own power plant. Of course, all that engineering doesn't mean much if you can't maintain the thing. Ask any mechanic which one is easier to work on. Toyota engines are laid out logically. Everything is where you expect it to be. There's plenty of room in the engine bay. Toyota uses long-life coolants and spark plugs rated for 120,000 miles, prioritizing a stress-free ownership experience. Hondas are tight. Because Soichiro wanted small, light cars, the engines are packed in like sardines. Changing a starter on a Honda might require you to have the hands of a 6-year-old and the patience of a saint. However, Honda uses fewer specialized bolts. You can take apart a 90s Honda with a 10mm, 12mm, and 14mm socket. Is there a reason for the cramped bays? It's about the center of gravity. Honda places engines lower and further back. They sacrifice your knuckles so the car can corner better. Toyota prioritized the ownership experience over driving experience. When you go to a car meet, the Honda guys and the Toyota guys are easy to spot. Both paths lead to legendary status. The Honda guys are usually talking about weight reduction, cams, and screamer pipes. They see their engines as Lego sets that can be swapped, tuned, and redlined. The K-Series swap is basically the LS swap of the 4-cylinder world. It's the engine of choice for anyone who wants to go fast. The Toyota guys are often split. You have the off-roaders who swear by the 22R and 1GR fee. They love the ability to crawl over rocks in 110-degree heat without overheating. And then you have the tuner elite who worship at the altar of the 2JZ and the new GR Corolla. For them, it's about unbreakable power. They want to know that no matter how much they abuse the car, it will get them home. Imagine you have two cars in your driveway. One is a Honda Civic Type R, and the other is a Toyota Camry TRD. The Honda engine is constantly asking for more. It wants you to downshift. It wants you to feel the vibration in the pedals. The Toyota engine is a silent partner. It does its job so well that you forget it exists. On a trip from LA to New York, the Toyota wins. You can drink your coffee, listen to a podcast, and the engine just hums. Take the Honda to the track. It will scream, it will dance, and it will remind you why you fell in love with driving. One is a master of the destination. The other is a master of the journey. Both of these giants are adapting in surprising ways. Honda's 1.5-liter turbo was a massive shift. It brought low-end torque but also concerns like oil dilution. Toyota uses turbos as a replacement for displacement, ensuring they are overbuilt and liquid-cooled to maintain that legendary longevity. Toyota uses 0W16 oil because their tolerances are tight. This reduces friction and gets incredible mileage out of a non-hybrid engine. Honda uses oil jets to spray the bottom of the pistons, keeping them from melting at 8,000 revolutions per minute. Toyota's engines are almost always paired with soft transmissions, protecting the engine from sudden torque spikes. It's the long game. Honda engines are paired with some of the best manual transmissions in history. They give you the tools to wring out every bit of energy. So which one is better? If better means the most miles for the least money, Toyota wins. They are the refrigerator of the car world. Toyota keeps the world moving, and Honda keeps the world exciting. They are two different answers to the same question. Honda says, have fun on the way. and maybe take the long route through the mountains. Which one are you? Are you a Kaizen perfectionist or a redline rebel? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives.